Are you ready to live life bold? Are you ready to no longer live life bland or beneath? Are you ready to say yes to you? Well, I started this conversation with asking myself a question. When you hear that phrase, what does it mean to you? So, my second question is, during that process of saying yes to you, how do you deal with your doubts and how do you deal with your fears? And I said, wow, that's really a good question. And it's one I had to really take time and sit in for a minute so that I could really be honest and, transparent in my ability to answer that question. So, what I would say is what helped me was first to identify and understand my fears. First, I had to be open to identify if my fears were coming from my past experiences, yes. If my fears were coming from self talk, yes. Or if my fears were coming from the unfamiliar, not knowing what was going to happen next, or not being able to know what the future really hold for me. Yes, to all three. So that was a process. And depending on the situation, one of those fears and doubts were more dominant. There could be a situation that I was dealing with, and it was more my fear or my doubt was coming more from something that I had experienced in the past. And there were other times when it was the self-talk that was dominant. And also there was other times when it was not knowing what the future hold that was the dominant reason for my fear and my doubt. So the second thing that I had to be able to be aware of was to begin to challenge those negative thoughts. I had to be able to ask myself, well, what is this fear or this doubt based on? Is it based on fact or assumptions? And how many times do we fear something or fear things that never really happen? Or we make assumptions that are really not true. So I also had to learn how to challenge that and be able to overcome those things when I was dealing with fear or doubt based on fact or even based on assumption. Um, the third thing it was I had to do was I had to begin to be open to take action and to build my confidence. And how that happened for me was there were many times I had to just do it afraid. There were many times when I just had to step out and do it afraid. I can remember that I used to have to teach a Sunday school class, and the teacher, she was amazing, a very powerful teacher. And one day she asked me, she said she couldn't be there, and she asked me to teach the class for her. Oh my word, I was trembling. I'm like, how can I stand in these shoes? I mean, she is just so powerful and amazing. But I went up and I did it afraid. And what I also learned is that God, He is not going to ask me to do nothing that He's not going to equip me to be able to do it. And oh my world, He did equip me. I felt like I was having an outer body experience, when once the class was over. So it taught me very early on that as I step out and as I trust God and believe that He's got me in anything or any situation that He allows me to be in, is because He's going to equip me to be able to navigate that situation. So that kind of helped build my confidence. So each time that I did it afraid, my confidence increased. Each time I stepped out, being afraid, trembling in my boots, sometimes stumbling over my words, but each time I continued to do it, my confidence began to build. And that's how come I'm able to stand here and speak to you today on camera. That's not something that I'm typically comfortable with. And there are times, even today, I stumble over my words. Sometimes I feel like I'm talking and it sounds like mumbo jumbo, but I continue to do it afraid. I continue to trust the process. I continue to believe as I do the work that is going to get better and get better. And I am so grateful for all the people who support me every time I'm stumbling over my words. I'm so grateful for the people who are open and willing to listen, to get the lessons and understand the process. Your process may not look like mine, but we all have a process. So, what am I saying? As we're saying yes to ourselves, as we're opening ourselves to live life bold and live it to the full, one of the things that we have to do and overcome is doubt and fear. And if you remember, the scripture that I said before was that Christ came that we have life and that we have it more abundantly. Well, the beginning part of that scripture, it talks about how the enemy, or the thief, he calls it, that he comes to kill, steal, and destroy. So some of the ways that that can happen in our lives is having fear and having doubt, and operating, in fear or in doubt. I shouldn't say operating, but not overcoming them or being uncomfortable as reference to dealing with it. Because if we don't move because of fear, if we don't move because of doubt, then a lot of times that inhibits us from living life to the full. It can stop us from being and doing and having all the things that has been predestined for our lives. So overcoming fear and doubt, it is pretty important. And it's also possible to do that. So again, I'm gonna give you just 3 of those tips that I said earlier. Just first begin to identify and understand your fear. Begin to challenge those negative thoughts, and then begin to take action to build your confidence. So I just want to encourage you and remind you that you are able and you have everything within you to be the person that you were created to be. You have everything within you to always show up your best self, no matter what environment, no matter the situation. You already have it within you. The other key is to believe in yourself. Believe that you're capable of doing it. Believe that it's possible for you. Another thing would be to celebrate. Celebrate those small steps. Celebrate those small wins. Each time you do it afraid, each time you overcome something, celebrate it. I would encourage you to celebrate it daily. So I just want to remind you that in order to live life and live life to the full, you want to be open to overcome fear and doubt. And trust me, it's possible for you.